Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the hidden rules of wealth building, those quiet behind-the-scenes advantages that separate the truly rich from literally everyone else. Look, let's be totally honest for a second right up front. Most people just assume that wealthy folks are either way smarter, incredibly lucky, or simply work a whole lot harder than the rest of us. But the truth? Well, it's actually way more uncomfortable than that, and we're going to break it all down right here.
So right off the bat, we've got to ask ourselves, do wealthy people simply work harder and just get luckier, or is the financial game that most people play actually designed for them to lose? Spoiler alert here, it's really not always about sheer effort. For a lot of people, the financial systems they're participating in every single day were simply never built for them to win in the first place.
Okay, let's quickly run through our roadmap. We'll be starting with the foundation, moving into building an asset engine, unlocking the multiplier effect, and finally, reaching the end game.
Let's dive right into Phase 1, the foundation.
You know, time beats talent every single time. Just think about the math for a second. Say person A starts at age 22, putting away just $300 a month into simple index funds. Now person B waits until they're 32, but they invest twice as much, $600 a month. You totally think person B wins, right? Actually, no. Compounding is literally like a snowball rolling downhill. It gives that early starter a massive, mathematically unbeatable lead. Wealthy families absolutely understand this. They teach their kids about investing early, so their snowball is already halfway down the mountain before most people even hear the word investing in their late 20s.
And shifting from monthly thinking to decade thinking, that turns you into a bodyguard for your future self's finances. Most of us make decisions based on what feels manageable right now, asking, hey, can I afford this monthly payment? But the wealthy? They ask a completely different question. How will this exact decision affect me 10 years from now? That one simple shift in perspective changes absolutely everything about how you handle your money.
So, here's a pretty brutal reality check. The $60,000 car doesn't actually just cost $60,000. Let's say you take on an $800 monthly payment. Someone thinking in decades realizes that if they just invested that $800 a month in the stock market over 10 years, it could grow to over $150,000. Because of opportunity cost over a decade, that car is actually costing you $150,000 in future wealth. Suddenly, that new car smells kind of less appealing when you realize it's literally costing you a future house. Every single purchase is a trade-off between today and tomorrow.
And we can't forget that your environment is quietly programming your wallet. If you constantly surround yourself with talk about investments and assets, wealth building just becomes your brain's default setting. If everyone around you blows their paycheck the moment they get it, well, that feels completely normal. But the wealthy intentionally put themselves in rooms where folks are discussing tax strategies, new business launches, real estate, you name it. You adapt to your surroundings. So if your weekend conversations are mostly just complaining about work or stressing over splitting dinner bills, you're quietly accepting an environment that produces perfectly average outcomes.
All right, moving right along to Phase 2, the asset engine. This is where things get real. There's this brutal reality of two completely different escalators people ride in life. The middle class tends to upgrade their lifestyle the very second they earn a little more money, while the wealthy upgrade assets that will eventually pay for that lifestyle. When the average person gets a raise, they rush out to buy a nicer car or book a fancy vacation that looks awesome on Instagram, but instantly drops to zero in value. But when a wealthy person gets more money, they buy index funds, they buy a rental property. Over time, those assets produce cash flow, which lets them upgrade their lifestyle without ever touching their primary income. If you're constantly buying things that just drain your wallet, you're basically standing on the escalator going down.
Right? So hard work in a standard job, that gives you linear growth. But transitioning over to ownership creates massive exponential scale. Whether it's real estate, a business, or intellectual property, two people can work equally as hard, but the one who actually owns the system is always going to build wealth faster than the one who's just working inside it. Employees earn salaries by trading their precious time for money. Owners earn profits by building systems that can serve thousands of people or grow while they're fast asleep.
Listen, by the time a hot investment opportunity hits the public news, the advantage is completely gone. Poof. The wealthy leverage their networks to hear about and act on deals way before everyone else. The best opportunities don't start out on mainstream media. They start in small circles, private conversations, and rooms most people simply never enter. Because the wealthy are exposed to significantly more deals and ideas, their odds of catching a massive opportunity increase dramatically. It's literally like holding 50 lottery tickets instead of just one.
Now we hit Phase 3, the multiplier effect. Now, leverage is a word that scares a lot of people. The middle class is taught to fear it, but the wealthy? They rely on it to safely multiply their buying power.
The conventional advice to just strictly save your pennies entirely misses how major wealth is actually built. Leverage is essentially just using other people's money, like a bank's, to control a much larger opportunity, all while keeping your own capital relatively safe.
To put that into perspective, let's say you use leverage in real estate. You actually only need an $80,000 down payment to completely control a $400,000 property. You reap all the financial benefits of the larger asset's appreciation without needing the full $400,000 up front. The bank covered the rest, but if that property goes up in value, you get the benefit from the full asset, not just your $80,000 piece of it. It's an incredible wealth accelerator that businesses and investors use every single day.
Okay, so the crucial point here is taxes. Wealthy folks legally pay lower tax rates. And no, it's not because of shady backroom loopholes, it's because they structure their income around assets rather than standard wages. Labor income, like your standard salary, is taxed so heavily before the money even hits your bank account. But income from assets, things like long-term capital gains, get incredibly favorable treatment. Rental owners use depreciation, which is basically a tax break for the wear and tear of a building, while business owners get to deduct expenses. They keep more of what they earn simply because they focus heavily on ownership.
I love this analogy. Think of it like the physics of money. In the very beginning, every single dollar takes immense effort. But eventually, the wealth generates its own overwhelming momentum. In those early days, you're straining, you're struggling, and you're barely seeing the needle move on your net worth at all. It's exactly like pushing a massive boulder up a steep hill. But once you finally reach the top of that hill, gravity completely takes over.
And once that boulder crests the hill, wow, an 8% return on $1 million generates $80,000 a year automatically, meaning the money is now working much, much harder than you ever did. By year 10, with a $500,000 portfolio, you're passively pulling in $40,000 a year without adding a single cent of your own labor. Your assets are doing the heavy lifting. This is exactly why the wealthy appear to make money so effortlessly. Their financial systems have finally hit that point of unstoppable momentum.
And that brings us to our final section, the end game, self-sustaining wealth.
The whole game permanently changes the exact moment your assets produce 100% of the income you need to support your life. That's when work transforms from a strict necessity into a total choice. It's not about buying a luxury car or hitting some magical, arbitrary dollar amount. It's about self-sustaining wealth. Think about it. When you rely on a paycheck, losing your job means losing your entire livelihood. But when your systems and investments produce enough cash flow to cover your life entirely, risk becomes incredibly easy to manage, and your daily decisions become entirely strategic.
Because here's the secret. The wealthiest individuals out there, they aren't just chasing luxury or status symbols. No way. They endure years of disciplined, long-term decisions to buy back their independence and protect their time. That is the ultimate prize. Time is literally the one currency in the universe that you can never, ever earn back. Getting to this stage doesn't happen overnight. It takes years of ignoring the pressure to keep up with the Joneses and consistently choosing to buy assets instead of liabilities.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a really important question to chew on. Are your daily financial habits moving you towards self-sustaining momentum, or are you still just pushing a boulder uphill for the rest of your life? Are you upgrading your lifestyle right now, or are you upgrading your assets? Take a hard, honest look at the escalator you are standing on today.